The Czech Republic's president-elect has held a call with Taiwan's president in a significant diplomatic breakthrough. China lifts its ban on one of Taiwan's most popular drinks, Kaoliang. 2025, that's the year a U.S.-China war could start, according to a senior Air Force commander. Taiwan's national baseball team has started training for the World Baseball Classic. We're here on the first day of their practice to find out more. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Leslie Liao. Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen has held a phone call with the President-elect of the Czech Republic. It's a diplomatic breakthrough for Taipei, which is often isolated on the international stage. James Chater reports.
Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen congratulating the Czech Republic's President-elect Petr Pavel on his landslide election victory. The call between the two leaders breaks with diplomatic precedent. The Czech Republic doesn't have official diplomatic ties with Taiwan. Direct contact between Taiwan's president and the head of a country that doesn't recognize Taipei is rare. But Tsai was among the first leaders Pavel called, joining Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Analysts say that reflects the former NATO general's foreign policy priorities.
He is a strong supporter of Ukraine and Taiwan. He really sees Russia and China as the major threats to our democracies, not only in Europe. It's not only given his military background, but he really feels about it. He spoke about it during the campaign in previous years as well. So that's why it's happening, but it's no coincidence because Czech Republic also has a government which is openly supporting Taiwan as its official government policy.
Pavel campaigned on a pro-West platform. He supports Czech membership of the EU and NATO, as well as the country's aid to Ukraine. Pavel will replace Miloš Zeman, the socially conservative president of 10 years that backed closer ties with Beijing. In his victory speech, Pavel promised to return truth and dignity to the Czech leadership.
A já jsem přesvědčený, že tyto hodnoty sdílí naprostá většina z nás. A že rozhodně stojí za to, abychom se snažili, že budou součástí našich životů a aby se také vrátili na hrad a do naší politiky.
In recent years, the Czech Republic has been a strident supporter of Taiwan. A Taiwanese delegation visited the European country in July last year, and in a 2020 visit to Taiwan's parliament, the head of the Czech Senate infuriated China when he told Taiwanese lawmakers, "I am Taiwanese." The new president-elect is expected to be part of an ongoing review into the Czech Republic's Taiwan policy, due to be published later this year.
I would expect, from what I know, that there'll be a lot of, let's say, new initiatives between Czech Republic and Taiwan on governmental or even presidential level as well.
Pavel is due to take office in March. His call to Tsai, evidence that Taiwan is increasingly at the forefront of European leaders' minds. Ethan Pan and James Chater for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's ministers of defense, foreign affairs, and cross-strait affairs have survived a cabinet reshuffle. Premier Su Tseng led his cabinet to resign en masse on Monday. This comes after the ruling Democratic Progressive Party's poor showing in local government elections in November. The new premier is Chen Chien-jen, a former vice president. Most of his picks also served in the previous cabinet. Among those changing positions are head of the National Security Bureau, Chen Ming-tong. He's to be replaced by Deputy Foreign Minister Tsai Ing-wen. Those staying include the Defense Minister, Foreign Minister, and the Minister for the Mainland Affairs Council, which handles relations with China. The new cabinet is expected to be sworn in on Tuesday. Our reporter, Louise Watt, spoke to Taipei-based journalist Brian Hugh of New Blue magazine to find out more about this reshuffle.
The ministers for defense, foreign affairs, and handling relations with China have stayed on. What does this tell us about the reshuffle?
Yeah, that indicates continuity with regards to cross-strait policy and foreign policy as a whole, while I think particularly the Tsai administration is keeping an eye on that. It was punished for its domestic failings in the results of November 2022 9-1 elections. And so I think that signals then that the Tsai administration is not perceiving this as a result of, for example, the public rejecting her cross-strait policy, as perhaps China or the Pambu camp would like to frame it. And so regarding defense matters, such as cooperation with the U.S. and how to deal with threats from China, that will probably remain mostly the same.
And as far as some of the new positions go, or at least some of the new faces in new positions, is there anything that you think is particularly significant about that?
So the biggest surprise then is Chen Chien-jen, who's of course leading the new cabinet. He's not an insider into DPP, is a bit free of the party politics and so forth, but he is trusted by Tsai. And so this is also possibly a move by Tsai to consolidate her factional influence at a time in which she is entering perhaps her lame duck period.
There's more women in this cabinet, and the new premier has said it's important for him to get more women in the cabinet. What can we make of the makeup, the male-female ratio of the cabinet so far?
So what is interesting is that many of the female members of the previous cabinet are preserved. For example, Xiaomi Kim is still the representative of the U.S. That's a key position as part of the administration. Wang Weihua is still the Minister of Economic Affairs and so forth. But I do think that it still slants to the male side in terms of the representation. That's always the case in Taiwanese politics. Despite the many legislators are elected within the cabinet or top government positions, oftentimes that are appointed by the president premier, it still overwhelmingly slants male.
That was Louise Watt speaking with Brian Hugh, a founding editor of New Blue magazine. Taiwan shares surged nearly 4% in the first session after the Lunar New Year break. Taiwan's stock market index, the TAIEX, rose 560 points on Monday. That was driven by the performance of chip-making giant TSMC, which saw its share price grow by almost 7.5%. It follows a difficult year for Taiwanese stocks in 2022, caused by falling demand for consumer electronics and a stuttering Chinese economy. China has lifted its ban on Kaoliang liquor, one of the most popular alcoholic drinks in Taiwan. Beijing imposed the ban last December after saying Taiwan vendors did not fill out import paperwork properly. This follows multiple food bans by China in recent years, Bing Wang reports.
This is Kaoliang liquor from Jimen Island. It's one of Taiwan's most famous drinks, and at 58% alcohol, it certainly packs a punch. China banned the alcoholic drink back in December last year, saying Taiwan did not provide the correct documentation. Another 123 Taiwanese beverages were also banned around the same time. Since then, Taiwanese legislators have been working with Chinese officials to get the ban lifted.
厦门市台办跟福建省台办的以海关的大力协助下，已经顺利解决哈。从今天2023月29日开始，可以完全的这个进入大陆哈，已经解禁了。
In recent years, Taiwan has routinely faced bans from China, which is its largest trade partner. In June 2022, China banned the import of grouper fish. China has also banned pineapples and wax apples from Taiwan, hurting the local economy. These are widely seen as intimidation tactics. China claims Taiwan as part of its own territory and has not ruled out annexing the country by force. While the ban on these beverages have been lifted, the prohibition on other products remains. And the Taiwan Mainland Affairs Council says there could be more embargoes ahead.
我们期待国台办，不论面对是一般民众、业者还是政治人物，在未来都能够发挥高度重视、积极协调的功能。
Besides the economic pressure, Taiwan has been facing regular incursions from Chinese military planes. A reminder that despite the lifting of the ban on Kaoliang, there's more at stake here than trade. Kama Xu and Bing Wang for TaiwanPlus.
A retired U.S. Navy admiral who oversaw his country's largest naval fleet will visit Taiwan on Monday. Philip Davidson was commander of the United States Indo-Pacific Command from 2018 to 2021. He's expected to meet with President Tsai Ing-wen during his visit. Davidson is known for being one of the first U.S. defense officials to suggest that China will invade Taiwan by the year 2027. His trip comes as U.S. media report that new House Speaker Kevin McCarthy also plans to visit Taiwan in the spring. For more on the recent developments involving a possible U.S.-China conflict in this decade, our reporter Jaime Okan spoke to Austin Dahmer, a defense analyst in Washington, D.C.
U.S. Air Force General Mike Minihan recently said in a memo, and I'll read this word for word, he said, "I hope I am wrong. My gut tells me we will fight in 2025. and he was alluding to a U.S.-China war in 2025. A couple years earlier in the Navy, Rear Admiral Davidson, he highlighted 2027 as a potential year for conflict. Why are these U.S. defense officials highlighting these dates?
So policymakers and analysts here in Washington have been throwing around some of these dates for a few reasons. You just referenced the most notable example was almost 2 years ago now in 2021, U.S. Navy Admiral Philip Davidson, as you just noted, who at the time was the head of all U.S. military forces in the Indo-Pacific, testified before Congress that the Chinese invasion threat to Taiwan was, quote, manifest in the next 6 years, meaning at the time by 2027. As you noted just this week, another senior U.S. military commander disclosed at Air Force General Mike Minahan, who leads all U.S. Air Force transport aircraft and refueling aircraft, sent a memorandum to his command saying, as you quoted, his gut tells him that the U.S. will fight China in 2025. He based this apparently on both the Taiwan and the U.S. elections in 2024, and apparently his sense that with Xi Jinping recently securing his third term in power, the time will be ripe in 2025.
If this is the case, and seeing that the years are coming closer, this timeline's coming closer, what should the United States, Taiwan, and other allies do to kind of deter and prevent this conflict?
From the U.S. perspective, the U.S. should be moving heaven and earth to ensure it unquestionably has the military capability and capacity in the theater to credibly deny a Chinese seizure of Taiwan. That's the only thing that will actually deter China from undertaking this effort. The key to preventing this from occurring is in demonstrating unequivocally that U.S. forces, along with Taiwan forces and any other allies and partners, could physically prevent this from occurring. From Taiwan's perspective, its military should be going the direction of the overall defense concept championed by Admiral Li Shimin, former chief of the General Staff. The fundamental reality, as he points out, is that Beijing's forces outnumber Taipei's forces by about 12-1. In short, Taiwan needs to have less conventional military capabilities like Abrams tanks, F-16 fighter jets, large amphibious ships that would likely be quickly overwhelmed if Beijing invades. It needs to be procuring more things like anti-ship missiles, naval mines, anti-air systems, unmanned systems, strengthen its unconventional warfare or guerrilla capabilities, and invest in training and readiness of its military personnel. This is often referred to as an asymmetric or porcupine strategy, which would be the most advisable strategy for Taiwan to pursue.
That was our reporter Jaime Ocon speaking to Austin Dahmer, a defense analyst in D.C. For the complete interview, make sure to visit our website at TaiwanPlus.com. Taiwan's Justice Ministry says it plans to introduce tougher penalties for human traffickers. This comes after a spate of kidnappings that have seen thousands of Taiwanese held captive and tortured by extortion rings. But most of the kidnappings have happened outside Taiwan's borders, leading to questions about how much of a deterrent law within Taiwan can be. John Van Trieste reports.
Here at Taiwan's Justice Ministry, officials want to send a message: zero tolerance for human traffickers. Since 2021, Taiwanese trafficking gangs have kidnapped thousands of their fellow citizens, luring them with promises of high-paying jobs. There are reports of victims being tortured and forced to work running their captors' telecom scams. Now, officials want to revise the criminal code to toughen penalties.
如果诈骗集团导致犯罪被害人有妨碍他的自由、施以凌虐或导致他受伤或死亡结果产生的话，我们都把它独立成一种加重的犯罪类型，甚至加重他的刑责，最重可处无期徒刑。
But only a small number of kidnappings happen in Taiwan itself. The most prolific rings are based in Cambodia, a close partner of China, and a country where Taiwan lacks even unofficial representation. Cambodia also follows Beijing's claim to Taiwan by deporting Taiwanese criminals to China. All this means that while Taiwanese victims may be able to return home, getting criminals back to face justice could prove more difficult. The Justice Ministry maintains that diligent investigation and harsher sentences are the best ways to stop human trafficking. But Taiwan's unusual international status makes it difficult to tackle any cross-border crime. Ethan Chen and John Van Trieste in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up, developers harness the geothermal energy of a dormant volcano just 20 kilometers from Taipei. Stay tuned.
Thank you for watching Taiwan Plus. For more great stories from here in Taiwan and around the world, please download the Taiwan Plus app. You've done it, right?
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. A man in the United States who disarmed a mass shooting suspect has been honored for his bravery. 26-year-old President Tsai was awarded a Medal of Courage by the Alhambra Police Department on Sunday. The mass shooting happened in Los Angeles on January 21st as the city's Asian American community was celebrating the Lunar New Year. Surveillance footage shows Tsai wrestling away a firearm from shooting suspect Hu Kan Tran at an Alhambra dance studio. Authorities say Tran earlier opened fire at another dance studio in nearby Monterey Park, killing 11 people and injuring 10 others. California Representative Judy Chu said the carnage would have been much worse if it weren't for the actions of Tsai, the Alhambra dance studio manager.
I realized that life is fragile. I feel that we as a community should spend our precious time reaching out to one another. Most of the victims I knew personally. They would always come by the dance studio, and I considered them friends. They were some of the most caring people I have ever met. And for them to be taken from us is such an excruciating experience.
Russian missiles hitting cities in Ukraine killed at least 4 people on Sunday. 3 were killed by Russian strikes that hit a hospital and a school in the southern Ukrainian city of Kherson. Another missile hit an apartment building in Ukraine's second largest city, Kharkiv, killing 1 person. Almost a year into its invasion, Russia is increasingly relying on long-range missile strikes to target Ukraine. These missile attacks come after Russia's defense ministry said a Ukrainian rocket struck a hospital in the occupied Lugansk region on Saturday, killing 14. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is heading to Asia for a trip aimed at improving military partnerships in the region. He'll visit South Korea and the Philippines. A Defense Department statement says Austin will work to boost military interoperability and improve joint training exercises. This includes restarting live-fire drills in South Korea. It's Austin's 6th trip to Asia and comes as the U.S. is working to strengthen its alliances in the Indo-Pacific region. Taiwan sits on the boundary between 2 tectonic plates. That means in many places, untapped geothermal energy lies just below the Earth's surface. Right now, the country has just 1 power plant turning that energy into electricity. But on a dormant volcano near Taipei, work is underway to build more. Stash Butler reports.
A half-built geothermal plant fires jets of steam heated by rocks deep below the Earth. This site, on a dormant volcano just 20 kilometers north of Taipei, could soon produce energy for more than 1,000 homes. Researchers say the Datun volcano group here holds as much as 70% of Taiwan's most accessible geothermal energy. And as the country shuts down its nuclear plants, that untapped renewable power could be vital to make up for lost capacity.
伊朗做核电厂的发电能力搞不好可以弥补核一核二的一个发电总量。未来真正大屯能开发起来，对北部的切电的危机可能会有点帮助。
But the harsh environment has made generating power here difficult. The naturally acidic water eats away at machinery. That's why it's essential for plants to use superheated dry steam with little moisture, as a local energy executive explains.
我们现在就是已经开始在主力发电机了。目前我们的设计条件都是取干蒸汽，为第一优先。干蒸汽基本上它是可以避掉一部分的地表基础酸蚀的问题。
The plant here at Sihuanziping will be formally handed over to private operators in June. They expect it to be online by 2025. Developers see the plant as a test case for more future power plants in the area. If all goes to plan, this form of renewable energy could become invaluable in Taiwan's fight to cut back on fossil fuels. Leon Lien as Dash Butler for TaiwanPlus.
On the last day of the Lunar New Year, Taiwan's national baseball team got together to start training for a major international competition. I was there on Sunday to see how preparations are going. Taiwan's national baseball team has gathered here at Liao Baseball Stadium in central Taiwan on the last day of the Lunar New Year holiday. They're here to start training for the World Baseball Classic, an international competition that pits the sport's best players against each other. And even though games don't start until March, it's never too early to start training. Because if these guys go all the way, they're going to be crowned the best baseball team in the world. The day starts off in traditional Taiwanese fashion, with prayer. The team burns incense and offers sacrifices to the gods to ask for a smooth and fruitful training session. Also here to rally the team is Zhang Lishan, magistrate of Yunlin County, where the Liao Stadium is located. After some words of encouragement, it's time to introduce the team's coaching lineup. This year's head coach is 41-year-old Lin Yueping, a decorated pitcher who played 13 seasons in Taiwan's professional baseball league.
那也希望我们这的教练团在集训当中，把我们曾经在中华队的经验，一一的给选手指导，那一一的给选手一些传承的经验。那希望我们这次可以顺利成功。
Ling is the youngest head coach to lead a national team of this caliber. Not only that, but with an average age of around 42, his staff of trainers is also the youngest a national baseball team has ever seen. But don't mistake youth for inexperience. There are some straight-up Taiwanese baseball legends here, like superstar slugger Peng Zhenming and former major leaguer Chen Ming-wang.
不晓得以前的教练这么辛苦，对啊，就想说教练就只有教球，可是其实教练他们也是要考量蛮多东西的。那一些训练啊，一些计划，要怎么让选手能到比赛的时候可以进入比赛的状况。
After everyone is introduced, it's time to get to work. Players warm up, then they start drilling. This will be their lives until the World Baseball Classic begins in just over a month. Team Taiwan will play their first game against Panama on March 8th in central Taiwan's Taichung City. Taiwan is hosting one of the competition's group stages with teams from Cuba, Italy, and the Netherlands also converging on the country. Team Taiwan will be looking to cash in on their home field advantage, but they have no delusions about just how skilled their opponents are.
我们不要针对说哪一队对我们有挑战性，我们的目标是要前进复赛嘛，所以4场的赛事里面，我们在组合上是每一队都必须要抢下胜利。
Players are pumped, coaches are locked in, and fan anticipation is through the roof. Taiwan's not only playing in the World Baseball Classic, it's one of the host countries as well. That means come game time, fans here will be able to watch these guys play up close and personal. At that point, it's not going to be about rooting for the home team. It's also going to be about home defense. A bird rarely seen in Taiwan has been spotted at a wetland in the south of the country. Local media reported a sighting of a few great crested grebe last week in Jiayi County. The birds are normally found in Europe and mainland Asia, but they occasionally come to Taiwan in December and January before leaving again in the spring. A forest area in northeast Taiwan had a frosty coating this weekend after a cold snap hit the area, bringing visitors in droves to see the icy scenery. Crowds of people came to Taipei National Forest Recreation Area on Sunday, some waiting up to 2 hours to see the spectacular views. Ice started forming in the area on Friday as temperatures dipped to -4 degrees Celsius, freezing the fog in the air. Visitors were also able to see local wildlife like the yellow-throated marten, a protected species. Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, today we leave you with images of skiing from the Free Ride World Tour event in Spain. I'm Liao. Take care and see you next time.
For more stories from here in Taiwan and around the world, please make sure to visit us at TaiwanPlus.com.